So before we actually start with the webinar, a couple of things. I'll be very quick. So as you know, after the biennial, the ISSBD underwent major restructuring, which is also you can see from our webpage, which is totally brand new. And also the composition of the Early Career Scholars Committee members has changed. So there are some old members, me included, Given Appunto and Federico Manzi, that are still serving in the Early Career Scholars Committee, but also we had newcomers. So we have Lillian Iro, Ella Daniel, Rachel Han, Yao Sun, and Delma Mokoban. And they all joined and actively participated and are participating in the activities. So thank you very much, guys, for the help. And also would like to say hi to Josefa Kuna, who left the committee to become the new representative of the communication committee, which has undergone kind of a restructuring. So it's not is not any longer part of the Early Career Scholars Committee, and we wish him all the best, and also we wish to thank him very much because he gave a lot of help to our activities. The other thing is that, as you may know, we at the beginning of this year we built this sort of survey that we handed out, or we actually submitted to the Early Career Scholars, and that was related to the ISSBD activities and like priorities. So what Early Career Scholars expect from the society. So based on the responses that we collected, we set a sort of priorities for planning the upcoming activities of the Early Career Scholars, in particular. An interesting finding from the survey was that all the Early Career Scholars, regardless of regional or cultural background, expressed the need to create international relationships, and to share ideas and projects. And then there was another need that emerged quite heavily, that at various levels of education for training in the approach to research in terms of both communication and also fundraising or apply for fundings, and promoting one's own research. So based on the findings, there was this initiative, the 2x2, that you might have learned about, and that was on the site. Now, the 2x2 initiative was basically to merge or to have people working together across cultural realities, across like research domains, dimensions. So, and to get together and propose a project, and that was some of the selected projects have been somehow supported financially by the ISSBD. So that was one of the things that has been done already, and that was actually Tina Malti's active initiative. The other thing is also related to this webinar, because the webinar today will cover how to effectively apply for research findings within international organizations. And today we'll have a particular focus on Jacobs Foundation Research Fellowship program. And our keynote is Jafet Fernandez, that I thank very much for really responding so promptly and quickly to the invitation, and she's a co-leader of the Learning Minds portfolio for the Jacobs Foundation. And then, of course, Tina Malti will be our discussant. Now, before lending the floor to Tina, just a very brief little thing. Next year, 2024, there will be the biennial in Lisbon. Now, two things to the early career. hurry booking rooms, okay? Because these, you know, is a very sensitive topic, this of room booking. So the ISSBD executive committee is very sensitive also to the need of many to share perhaps rooms. Just you know, just to let you know that we are working towards facilitating interactions between people, so that we can perhaps find someone to share with. And also, just draw your attention to the support that the ISSBD is given to the early to enable attendance to those, for example, of low income. So check out the web. Go under, I was checking before, you have to go under grants, I think, grants and awards, and you'll find there all the facilities that are put at your disposal for applying to the grants. Last thing, there will be elections very soon, so for the early career scholars representatives, for the executive committee incoming president, and also for the executive committee members. So check out the web, and we'll post you also some warnings when the elections will approach. But remember that you must be sorry, Ivy. Okay, thank you. So you remember you must be a member. So remember to renew your membership if you haven't done it already. So I'm done, and I now lend the floor to Tina. And Tina, thank you very, very much. You know how much I appreciate you're here with us today. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Cynthia, for the introductory note, and thank you for putting this fantastic workshop together. Thanks to the Early Career Scholar Committee for the work and for putting it together and for this great opportunity. And I would also, of course, like to extend my warm welcome and thank you to our keynote speaker, Gelgia, and our guest speakers. And I also want to say hi to everyone who is joining this, to see you, and we are looking forward to your questions and a discussion. And feel free to raise your hand or use the chat function whenever you want to make a comment or raise a question. So it is now a pleasure to quickly introduce Gelgia, our keynote speaker. And while I thought Gelgia already knew, you know, you always learn a lot by, you know, really, doing some such on people you like and appreciate. So Gelgia, as Cynthia already mentioned, is one of the co-leads of the Learning Minds portfolio at the Jacobs Foundation. And as part of the leadership team, she co-develops the Minds portfolio together with Anna Cubillo towards improving the level of collaboration and influence among Jacobs Foundation supported researchers, the level of researchers' influence on practice, and the level of researchers' influence on policy. Gelgia was instrumental in setting up the Jacobs Foundation's Klaus Jacobs Awards, the Research Fellowship Program, CRISP, as well as the LEAP program. When she first joined the foundation in 2007, she worked with founder Klaus Jacobs and was able to continue his vision as part of today's Learning Minds portfolio by making sure relevant research finds its way into everyday practice. Before joining the Jacobs Foundation in 2007, Gelgia worked as a trained newspaper journalist, events and stories, national and international in scope. And in that role, I learned she reported out of Tel Aviv, where she finished her studies in social anthropology and where she focused on the political socialization of Israeli youth. Gelgia holds a graduate degree from Zurich University in Switzerland, where she studied social anthropology, media studies, international relations with an emphasis on the Middle East. So Gelgia and her team at the Jacobs Foundation, as many of you know, have been a tremendous help for us at ISSBD. They have shown continuous interest in our international workshops and have been given invaluable support and advice. And without their financial support, it would be very hard for us to have achieved our ambitious goal to organize the ISSBD regional workshops in different parts of the world, helping early career scholars from different countries to improve their scientific training and to broaden their perspective significantly. So let's delve quickly into our history. In early 2000, the first Jacobs ISSBD fellowship program was launched, supporting early career scholars from all over the world. And this program also secures funds for several of ISSBD Young Scientist activities, including a travel grant for the ISSBD pre-conference workshops and international regional workshops. And 2 different early career scholarship programs were conceptualized in that same year. One open to applicants from all countries in the world, and the second focusing on early career scholars from currency restricted countries, with the aim of recruiting PhD students in 2 cohorts, each of them being funded for 3 years. So we really owe many thanks to Gaia and Simon Sor from the Jacobs Foundation, who have enthusiastically supported this project from the initial stages on and have given valuable feedback regarding our early career scholar program, and who carefully monitored the progress of this important enterprise. So to sum it up, we are very, very grateful, dear Gelgia, for the collaboration we have formed with the Jacobs Foundation over the years, and appreciate all your efforts in the past and hope for many more to come. And it is now with great delight to welcome you once again, Gelgia, to share your expertise and experience with us here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tina. Thank you for your kind words. I'm really, really excited to be here with you today, because really the ISSBD is one of my favorite research societies, and I think it's one of the societies actually that deserves the word international. There are so many others in the field who claim to be international, who claim to do meetings and biennials outside of Europe and the US, but this is not very often the case. And I think one of the strengths really are those regional workshops. I remember we were crazy enough to set up a mentored doctoral fellowship program with Tony Antonucci still in Côte d'Ivoire right before the pandemic hit. It was really not easy, but I really think it paid off. So I'm really excited to be here today, and I hope to learn from you and to learn from the discussion. And in that spirit, I'm trying to keep that presentation that I have prepared really short. And if I go over time, you just have to cut me off. I'm planning to do 3 things. I think I will give a little bit of an introduction on the Jacobs Foundation, because we also had a bit of a strategic shift and we're shifting focus. Then I will briefly talk about our research agenda that we published last year. And I think I shared that one with Tina already, and we had a discussion around that. And then probably the most interesting piece for you is I will zoom in on the research fellowship program. And I'm super excited that Ivy is part of the panelists today, because Ivy is a research fellow who joined us, I think, a year ago. And all the things that I say in theory, you know, what we want to achieve and the high flying objectives that we have, Ivy can actually ground them and say whether it's true or not what I'm pretending here. So let's get started, and I hope I'll put my presentation up if you can. Let me see if I can share the screen. I think the host needs to actually give me permission to share the screen. Is that possible? So I can't see the icon right now. Yes, now I think. Are you able to see it? Great. Okay. Then, good. Let's move to this one. See if I can move them. Good. Okay. a little bit of an introduction on the Jacobs Foundation and the background, so the roots. And again, I can't see you at the moment, so if you have questions, just really feel free to jump in. So the foundation was actually built up in 1989 by Klaus J. Jacobs, who was an entrepreneur who created brands like Adecco, Barry Callebaut, and Toblerone. So Adecco was one of the leading job service providers in Europe, and Barry Callebaut is one of the leading manufacturers of chocolate and cocoa products. And I think there are two things that you should know about Klaus Jacobs. He was really convinced that young people, adolescents, and children are the motor of each society, and that we shouldn't take a deficitary perspective when looking at young people, but really look at their potential and how they can contribute to society. He was also a World Scout, so maybe this fascination for young people was due to that fact. And the other thing about Klaus Jacobs was that he was really fascinated about science. He put academics in his board when he set up the foundation, and he was strongly convinced that research and practice should go hand in hand, and that interventions and programs should be informed by research, should be informed by scientific findings and by an evidence base. And I think this is really part of the foundation, part of our DNA, if you wish. So a couple milestones maybe from our history since 1989 when we were founded. One of the first earliest programs that came into place was our annual Jacobs Foundation conference, where we convened leading scientists and scholars on several issues of child and youth development. And out of that came a young scholars program, actually, because we gave the seniors that were invited to the conference the opportunity to nominate young scholars to also be part of the conference, and afterwards to submit small proposals, collaborative proposals, to work together on project ideas that they had developed during the conference. And this Young Scholars program was extremely successful, and we had a lot of fun working with those early career scholars together. And after, I would say, 10, 15 years, we realized that it's more rewarding for the foundation to work with early career scholars, that they actually, for relatively little funding, were way more engaged than more senior people. And I think this was really what motivated us then around 2015 to establish the Jacobs Foundation Research Fellows Program that we are talking about a little later on. You might also know about the Klaus J. Jacobs Awards. They were established in 2009, and here again we have a research prize that is endowed with 1 million Swiss francs and 3 best practice prizes that are each endowed with 200,000 Swiss francs. And I think you can see this idea from Klaus Jacobs coming through again, that research and practice should be hand in hand. Then in 2015, there was quite a shift in the foundation in the way how it operates. So we went from supporting programs and projects in several countries to one big support for Côte d'Ivoire to really launch a program with 50 million Swiss francs, aiming at really creating an entire learning ecosystem that would involve the Ivorian government, that would involve researchers, that would involve organizations, and also the industry. And when I say industry, then it's the chocolate and cocoa manufacturers, and not only Barry Callebaut, but really the bigger system there that was involved in that. 2015 was also the year that we've established the Research Fellows Program. That was another shift. So we moved away from granting more traditional project grants to senior scientists to a fellows program for early and mid-career researchers. And the big shift was not only that we are addressing now early and mid-career researchers, mainly with a lot of funding, but also that we are not supporting projects per se, but really the individual researcher over a time of 3 years. And we'll talk a little bit later about that program as well. Then in 2021, we launched our new 10-year strategy. And I think the big difference there to note was that up until then, the foundation really had as a thematic focus child and youth development. Before it was even coined as productive or positive child and youth development. And now we're zooming in more on learning and on learning variability. And I'll talk about learning variability a bit later on as well. So in sum, what we're doing, we aim to advance evidence-based learning opportunities for every child. We want that every child is given the evidence-based learning opportunities they need to thrive. And thriving is a little bit of a catch-all word, but for us, it's really so that every child can reach their own potential. We seek to improve children's learning and education by promoting the generation and the translation of evidence into policy and practice. So in essence, it's really this idea of connecting evidence to action/practice and then action to systems. We believe that all children deserve the access to quality education, but we also see that programs and policies are designed to improve a child's learning and education. They are still providing one-size-fits-all instruction. So they are basically looking at the average child, and they are not necessarily rooted in evidence. So with this new strategy of ours, we seek to address this challenge and really to ensure that scientific understanding of how children learn sits at the core of everything that we do. So the ideas here to accomplish this is to fund research, to understand how children learn, and then to promote the use of evidence in school practice and also in EdTech, and ultimately to improve the uptake of evidence in national policy and implementation. And if you look, and this is also a little bit leaning on the organizational structure of the foundation, at our theory of change that we put together 2 years ago, you see a setup of 3 program portfolios, and they are all based on the core competencies that we believe the foundation should have or aims to have. So you see the Learning Minds portfolio, where the research fellowship program is also situated in, where it's all about scientific research and having researchers collaborate with each other across disciplines and across sectors to inform practice and policy. Then we have a set of colleagues working in the Learning Schools portfolio, and they are really working together with schools, not individual schools, but school aggregators, school associations, to improve practice in school and the use of EdTech that is really based on evidence. Those 2 portfolios are global in scope. And then you have the third one, the Learning Societies portfolio, that is focusing on a number of target countries. And those are Switzerland, because we are based in Switzerland, then Ghana and Ivory Coast, and now most recently also Colombia. Bringing all of that together, ultimately, the desired impact, hopefully in a decade or so, is to influence education systems so that they can provide every child with evidence-based learning opportunities. So this is a little bit about the Jacobs Foundation. And then we set up a year ago a research agenda, because we said, well, we're focusing on learning and learning variability, but we have to conceptualize what this really means. So we put together this research agenda by reaching out to our network of research fellows, but also our wider network. And the idea here is really to understand how children vary day to day in their skills and behaviors, how they differ from their peers, and how they live and learn in different environments. So again, if we are talking about learning variability, the idea is, or why actually the rationale for zooming in on not only learning per se, but learning variability, is that we are thinking that education systems are not designed to address children's variable states. We still believe that there's a lot of inflexible instruction that does not really fit the needs of most children. And we also saw that the dominant research methods are favoring group averages. They're only short snapshots of time, and they look at single environments. When researchers are acknowledging learning variability, there's still a lot of disagreement about its origins, about how to address it, when to embrace it, when it's actually beneficial, and when it's harmful, so when it should be reduced. So we hope that with that research agenda and with advancing research on learning variability, this could then eventually result in knowledge that helps policymakers make the right decisions. So in essence, we're looking at 3 types of learning variability, as already alluded before a little bit, the within-person variability, because we know that every child varies and changes over time, and we want to understand this day-to-day variation in children's skills. The second typology is the within-group variability. We know that learners have diverse needs, and we aim to understand learning in diverse groups. And the third one is the contextual variability, because children have to operate successfully in changing contexts, and we have to find ways of how to prepare children to learn in different contexts. Earlier this year in May, we had our annual Jacobs Foundation conference, actually exactly on that topic. It was about adaptive learning in a changing world, and there was a lot of discussion, should the context adapt to the learner and make it more easy for the learner, cater to the learner's need, also supported by EdTech, or would we expect the learner to be able to adapt to changing contexts? So with that conference in May, we were really trying to zoom in on that theme. So the research agenda that we put together, that also sits on the Foundation's website, is in essence a set of guiding questions that we have put together in many, many conversations with the fellows in our network and with other researchers in our network. And it should provide a basis for of questions that researchers can begin to address in the next 8 to 10 years. The high-level goals of this agenda is to build a science of learning variability, and to also have a group or a backbone of researchers coming together to work across disciplines and across sectors on learning variability. So that's a bit on the research agenda. Here, about the Learning Minds portfolio, you remember that before I gave you an overview of 3 portfolios at the Jacobs Foundation, and the research fellowship is situated within that Learning Minds portfolio. And I mentioned before the awards, and then we have 2 research networks that we actually support that work around EdTech. One, CERES, is more about working together with industry, and the other one, CELA, is more about working together with schools. And one of the more interesting initiatives that we have now really recently developed and are just getting it off the ground is Levante. That's an abbreviation for Learning Variability Network Exchange. So here we really try to implement the research agenda, if you wish, and put together a global research network that will address some of those questions that we have come up with in the research agenda, and out of that build a global data set on childhood learning variability. We got the funding approved to start at Stanford University to set up the mechanism, and hopefully the first pilots can start. We just had a steering committee meeting, agree on the measures that we actually want to look at, and hopefully the pilots can start somewhere over the course of next year, and then the first call for proposals for researchers to become engaged in will then go out hopefully towards the end of next year. So Levante is quite an exciting initiative for us at the moment, and we're also concerned and challenged to make sure that this is really an international initiative, and we also hope to include many researchers from the Global South, and first and foremost from Colombia and from Ghana, where we have other engagements. So we're currently working on that. And I think what is most interesting for us, and where we should probably spend a couple more minutes if we have the time, is talk a little bit about that Jacobs Foundation Research Fellowship Program. So in a nutshell, and you also find this information on the website, this is funding for individual researchers over the course of 3 years. It's in the amount of 150,000 Swiss francs. And the nice thing about this funding is that you can use the funds, almost half of the funds, to cover your own salary. And then there is also coverage of indirect costs, so up to 10%. That's an additional 15,000 Swiss francs are added to that grant sum. And now recently, we developed an initiative for research fellow alumni. So after the fellowship, after the 3 years, when you enter into the alumni status, you can reapply. There's only a small subset of funds that are made available for that end, but this is for alumni to then conduct projects that focus on this evidence to action piece, or that focus on scientific capacity building. The ideal candidate for the research fellowship program has obtained his or her PhD within the past 10 years. You need to be employed at an institution of higher education or a research institute, and to conduct high quality research on learning variability, as I've just outlined before on the research agenda. And then in addition to an interesting and high quality project idea or vision, we need to see the commitment of fellows to be engaged with the Jacobs Foundation and the fellowship network, and to contribute to the foundation's activities. And I would say first and foremost, working, or the willingness and the appetite to work across scientific disciplines is I think the most important part of this program. We have really scientists from neuroscience, economy, sociology, psychology, cognitive sciences coming together in this program. And I think this is one of the strengths to have this opportunity to work across disciplines. The selection criteria, again, alignment with the research agenda and the potential to advance our understanding of learning variability. Then we have a review panel that looks at research accomplishments and publication record. We are looking at creativity and the potential to become a leader in the community. We're looking at scientific quality of the proposed methods and data. We're also looking at the international relevance of the planned work, and as outlined before, on the willingness to actually engage with the foundation. The call for applications for the Research Fellowship Program will go out in less than 2 weeks' time. So please check out the website. It's actually on November 27. If everything goes well, it should be there and it should be open. Then we will, until April, review initial applications, and then we will extend an invitation to submit an extended proposal. So on the first level, on the initial application level, it's really about seeing whether there is a fit, whether there's a thematic fit, and whether the criteria are covered to be invited to submit an extended proposal. In June, we are reviewing together with the review panel the extended proposals, and then we'll send out invitations for interviews. Those are online interviews that are about 20 minutes. By that time, we know already that the scientific quality is there, that the project proposal is relevant and is of the quality that we want to see. So we are really using the interviews to talk about the fit of the fellow with the foundation, if our goals are aligned, and whether there's also appetite from the fellow to be engaged in projects and initiatives that could maybe go beyond the fellowship program. And then in October, we bring the finalists to the attention of the Board of Trustees and get the approval to recruit the next cohort of fellows. A couple figures maybe, we are getting every year around 400 applications for the fellowship. Then we bring it down to around 100 to submit then extended proposals. Then we are taking around 30 candidates to the interviews, and in the end we have somewhere between 12 and 15 fellows to be selected to join the program. And last but not least, just a couple tips, and they are pretty straightforward. This is really not rocket science, but I see time and time again that people wait until the very last minute and then suddenly reach out to us because they have issues with uploading materials, or they're not exactly sure what they need to provide in the application. So it's always good to start a little bit early. The deadline this year is mid-January. So if you want to take a look at the application forms and inform yourself what is required, I would do that before, maybe 1 or 2 days before the deadline. Then we have a template that is on the initial application form, really very straightforward. So we would expect all the questions to be answered in that application form. Be concise as you can, but also as informative as you can. Quite important to visit the foundation's website and look for specific information. I would also strongly suggest, the website was just relaunched last week, to take a look at the fellows that are already part of the program and familiarize yourself a little bit with what they have done, and maybe also how you could connect to their work. Because one of the questions that is one of the most popular ones that come up again and again in the interviews is, how would you engage with other research fellows? And there we even want to see some names sometimes. Then I think one of the most difficult things to do is not to focus on one project only, but make it precise, make it concrete, but also bear in mind that this is a fellowship program, and that we are not looking at one singular project proposal, but we want to support the researcher over this period of time. And I'll stop there. And I think I took up more time than originally anticipated, even by rushing through it. So stopping there.
Thank you so very much, Gelja, for a very comprehensive and informative and rich presentation. It was also very enjoyable to learn about your continued and new initiatives. It's amazing, So I know you have to leave soon. So I want to open the floor for questions and comments and a discussion. And I'm not sure if you can see the workshop participants, but I guess you can just still raise your hand or raise your questions in the chat, and I'm happy to read them if anyone wants to submit a question. But anyone? Any questions? So maybe I can ask the first question, and then there is a question. So is there going to be an opportunity for scholars to apply within the Levante or Ceres and Cella networks, Gelja? I wasn't quite sure.
Yeah, so within Levante, for sure, we just have to put it up and running. So again, we hope to be piloting it early next year. And then the call for proposals will be going out hopefully towards the end of next year. Within Ceres and Cella, the decision is not on us anymore. So we have outsourced this. We have 2 PIs at the University of California at Irvine. They are in charge of Ceres. And then we have 2 PIs at the University of Oulu and Radboud, and they are in charge of Cella. But look up their websites, and maybe this is of interest to you.
Thank you. Here's a great question by Ella Daniel, who is also a member of the committee. And the question is, thank you for an interesting presentation and the important work. Speaking of learning variability, do you mean academic learning or also social and emotional learning?
All of it, not only academic learning, not only the foundational skills. So of course, literacy and numeracy, but really also everything else that you mentioned that contributes to well-being and thriving.
Thank you. Another question from the chat, and then I see some raised hands. Do you only give funding to PhD holders?
Yes. So, and I would even say, because this is highly competitive, I would even advise or suggest to not apply for this when you just got your PhD, but maybe wait 1 or 2 years until you have your research agenda together.
Thank you. I think the next is Akbar. Can you unmute yourself? Can you hear me? Hello. I hope I do not mispronounce your name terribly. Akbar Joan Tabi, you had a question? While we are waiting, here's another question. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. I have a question on learning variability. Does it factor in learners with disabilities?
Yeah, so we chewed on that again and again, and we were not entirely sure what's still in it and what not. So I would certainly, I mean, some people, talk about learning differences, others about learning variability. So I would certainly say that yes, you should apply.
Thank you. Clarice, you're next.
Yes, thank you so much for this webinar. I'm so great to have it today. And the question is, I'm now teaching at the University of Alassane Ouattara in Côte d'Ivoire. And my question is that possible to build up a team for a proposal about the education? Because I'm so disappointed about what is happening in Côte d'Ivoire. I'm trying hard to have an opportunity to build up a bilingual education there. So my question is that possible to build a team and make a proposal as a team? Thank you.
So for the research fellowship program, thank you so much. You have to apply as one individual researcher. What if you are using funds afterwards, to hire research assistants or to buy out time? That's another thing, but the funds are really going to you as an individual. It's not for teams to apply, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Akbar, do you now want to raise your question? If you can hear me? If not, I think there was also if you would be open to share slides or part of it, Gelgia?
Sure, not a problem. I can send them after the webinar to you, and then you can maybe distribute them.
Thank you so much. And I think one last question is from Fiona. Is there an opportunity for the fellowship, especially for those enrolled for PhDs, different for those applying for the specific project that requires an individual to have earned 10 years after obtaining their PhD? I guess it's a similar question about eligibility.
So it's not, it's really from getting the PhD up until 10 years, although at times we have individuals applying and saying, but I was on parental leave, I have like 4 kids, can you disregard that, can you take that into account? And we do this. So if you can show that you had several kids and you were on parental leave, we can calculate that in. And then of course you don't have to be 10 years after PhD, everything in between works as well.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? If not, thank you so much for the great presentation. We will be looking forward to the calls and the future opportunities, and hopefully many of the ISSBD scholars can join some of those exciting initiatives, Gelgia. We are really very excited. So thank you again for volunteering your time, and hope to see you soon again. Thank you.
Thank you. I know that.
Thank you. So Cinzia, I'm going to turn over to you again.
Right, thank you very much, Tina, and thanks, Gelgia. Your presentation was very informative. I think to the point that I think the DACOPs will have trouble sorting through the applications next time, because you will get a lot of them done properly. So yes, thank you again, really very much, Gergia, for your time. Appreciate it. So now let me introduce our guest speakers, who I thank very much for giving their availability. So Steven Azazza, Pamela Vadende, and Ivy Kazewa Kruma. Did I say it correctly, Ivy? Can I just say Ivy? That it's much easier for me. So I scheduled Stephen first, but I was thinking that perhaps because it's more in line with what we've just heard, we might have Ivy starting, if it is okay with you. Is that okay, Ivy? If you start with this, and for you, Stephen, is that okay? Okay, so let me just introduce Ivy very quickly. So she's a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, Ghana. She's worked with non-governmental organizations as well as with universities, and she's been actively engaged in research, teaching, mentoring of students. She has a great passion for educational research and has applied expertise and competencies to support the successful implementation of a number of community-based programs that promote education. So her current project with the Jacobs Foundation aims at identifying a good model on language and education at a lower school level for policy improvement in Ghana and other low and middle income multilingual countries. So I said, I hope I described your research and your activity properly, Ivy. Just I forgot to say a very minor, tiny little thing, that is why we invited you all. So what you have in common is that you've been past a successful past applicants, not only of Jacobs, but also of other grants. So we invited you to share your experiences and to see things from the other side, from another perspective. So the floor to you, Ivy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Because of the time, I prepared a 5 slide PowerPoint, but I think it's fine. We can just flow without necessarily sharing any PowerPoints. So yes, I am a 2023 Jacobs Fellow. So for the 3 years, mine starts from 2023 to 2025. And I'm glad that Yeta talked about the alumni grants, and I will see her later for that, in details about that. Yeah, I'm really interested in that. And well, in terms of the application, I did an application in 2021. Actually, I met a Cameroonian in New Zealand, and he said that because I was taking care of children in one church, he realized I was so much interested and passionate about children and their learning. So when he got the link, he just shared it with me that I'm sure you might be interested in this fellowship. That was after I had come to Ghana after my PhD. So he shared the link with me. I tried the first time. My first application was to look at impulsivity, reducing impulsivity among learners in Ghana and other African regions, but I wasn't successful the first time application. But one thing about Jacobs Foundation is that even where you are not successful, they provide you with comprehensive feedback. So you get to know which part of the proposal you didn't write very well, which part was not convincing enough. So I looked at their comments, and even up to now, when I'm writing for other grants, I refer to their comments. So they gave me a very good, comprehensive comments. So I used that the following year to choose a topic, because I realized that they are more interested in variability. And so I looked at it, I said, okay, it appears the impulsivity doesn't really catch the attention of varied or diverse learners. So let me look for a topic that is that most learners will be touched, because their aim is to promote learning among diverse learners. So I was still doing my regular research with the schools. I got into contact with them, and they were telling me that it appears language is one of the major problems in Ghana and most of the African countries, because most of us are multilinguals. And if you look at the language history in Ghana and other African countries, you'll see that it is a bit awkward. Today we are using maybe English only, the next day we change it. So it's affecting the school system. And most learners are really dropping out of school because of the language issues. So the following year, that was last year, I decided to write a proposal, still referring to their comments, write a proposal, a convincing one, to convince them that, well, this is the problem we have in Ghana and many other developing countries. Language of instruction or language of teaching is a problem here. So I want to look at how we can gather data, scientific data, to inform policy that will promote inclusive teaching and learning using the appropriate language of instruction. And I think, yes, that year I got the first email from them. I had been shortlisted. I think Jesse was going through the process with us, so I was shortlisted. Then they asked me to send the extended proposal. We came down to, I think, 24 or so, and we attended the interview. And I was so happy when I had the opportunity to join the fellows last 2023 fellows. I must add that, because of the time, I won't take so much of your time. I must add that the Jacobs, it's one of, I think, when we met in Amsterdam, one other fellow said that she has experienced more than 2 grants, and Jacobs is the best. And I was really excited about what she said. She said, Jacobs is the best because of the network you build, and even the way they announce their fellows. When they place the advert there and they announce their fellows, that year I had a lot of contacts within Ghana and other countries. They want to read your work. How did you do it? What are you trying to do this time? And it increased the number of reads you have on Google Scholar, and you get a lot of contacts, collaborate with people, and do other work. In fact, through the Jacobs research, I got this. We tried a project in Ghana called the Digital Project from the German government, and it was because of the exposure I had in with the Jacobs Foundation. And another opportunity I have probably had is that now, through the research, I'm doing the research, I'm able to experience what is happening at the grassroots. The people, the implementers of policy, people who are supposed to use the policy, and those are the policy makers. Because I've done my pilot study, and I shared the emerging trends from the pilot with the scientific community. And the pilot required that I get into contact with the communities, children, even places that have not actually been used for research. I went to those, that was the place I targeted for the pilot. Although we are yet to start the main study, but the pilot gave me a broader understanding of and a deeper understanding of research now. So when I shared the pilot results with policymakers at a conference, that month, that was in last 3 months, that month I had the slot to represent my university on the National Teachers Council. And now, currently, we are writing the teacher standards for Ghana. So because of Jacobs, I have had the opportunity to do such a research. And now the findings, although we have not finished the study, it is still ongoing. I'm able to influence the new teacher standards with some of the findings that I am gathering from the field, which I'm sure maybe in the past, they will just post some of these teacher standards without considering the scientific aspect of it. But this time they have science person on board. So as you discuss, you are able to tell them about the realities on the grounds, and that influence the new policy that they are drafting. And well, I have this is my target, that maybe in the next few years after I have done this study, I would want to probably get a contract from the Ghana government, maybe to write an educational reform, and I'll put my name on it, that Ivy is educational reform. You never know. That is actually my dream. And maybe lastly, if you keep checking the Jacobs website, you get a lot of information. They post a lot of information. In March, that was when I had just joined the fellowship. They sent out an advert that there was a call for people who were interested in this global education, entrepreneurship, and innovation at the University of Pennsylvania. And I used the opportunity because I'm in education. So when such opportunities are advertised, I want to take it and then strengthen my knowledge and skill in the area. So I used the opportunity to do that. It was a lot of exercises that you needed to do, submitting assignments, lots of presentations. And within, I think, 4 or 5 months, I have my certificates from the University of Pennsylvania, certificates on global education, entrepreneurship, and innovation. So Jacobs, I will say that it's helping me, through me, Jacobs is helping Ghana, and it is going to affect the other African countries, but it also transforms you as an early career researcher. Yes. Thank you. I'm trying to go strictly by your time.
Yes. No, sorry, it's just a bit, I didn't find my microphone. So thank you very much, Heidi, for your talk. I understand why the project was selected by Jacobs, and I'm sure that I mean, to me, it really helped to put what Delja said before into a concrete context and into a real experience. So before like opening the floor to questions, I would like to go to Stefan, or is that correct? Stefan or Stephen? Is that Stefan? Stefan. Okay, right. Thank you very much, Stefan. So we just you know, would leave the floor to Stefan Azatska. He's a senior lecturer in the Department of Psychology at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa, and he has a PhD in counseling psychology, and his research interests include personality psychology, thanatology, and indigenous knowledge systems in psychology. He's a member of the ISSBD and Society for Research in Child Development, so the SRCD, and he serves on the governing council of Society for Research in Child Development. So welcome very much, Stefan, and thank you for accepting to take part in this webinar. So it's to you now.
Yes, thank you so much, and also appreciating the presenters who have come before me. So I'm going to make a short presentation. I think this is one of the shortest presentations I've ever been invited to make, for 7 minutes, but I'll promise to finish within the 7 minutes. And I just wanted to share experiences with early career scholars, because sometimes we believe we have to grow to become senior scholars for us to start getting some of these opportunities. But I just wanted to share experiences that I've gone through in the journey of grant writing and research, so that it can be an encouragement to other early career scholars. And just a short introduction about myself. These are a few of my current grants, the current grants that I'm actually implementing. Some are about to end. Some are going into the next year. But I don't want you to look at the grant so much. Look at the note in red that I have received 60% of rejection of grants that I've ever applied for, because I know many young and early career scholars normally give up at one rejection. And I like what Evie has said, because she has also braced through rejection and reapplied and gotten it. So my presentation is aimed at giving you tips on how to position yourself for grants beyond Jacobs Foundation and beyond other international big funders that you know. We can start small and build a CV, and then when we present ourselves to the big funders, they will be able to accept our applications. So one of the things that I really looked at when preparing is start young, and don't when we were young children, we used to say when we grow up we will become. Now in as an early career scholar, don't say when you grow up, start now. Don't wait to become academically senior scholar so that you can start launching in the field of grant writing. You can start as young academically as you are, and it is possible. We are here to tell you, yeah, we've done it, and it has worked. The other thing I want you to note is start small. Like I like the Jacob Foundation's grant. It's so huge. It's a lot of money when you convert this money in our local currencies. But I found the path to the huge grants starts with the small grants, and I found the larger the grant, the more stringent it is. But if you are a person who identifies opportunities for small grants of even $2,000, $5,000, those ones are not stringent and like very stringent. The conditions are not very tough as the big ones. So as an early career scholar, why can't you start there? You can start with the smaller ones. And I realized they are never small, because when you win that small one, you go and add it on your CV. So the next time you are applying for a bigger grant, you are giving the funders an opportunity to know this person has the skills to apply for grants. They can also manage. And it also helps you to learn to manage the grant. If you can manage $5,000, then you can manage another one for $20,000, so you can get for the $50,000. And it's a space that I really want to encourage us to go to. Don't wait for the big funds. Go for small ones first. The next thing that really helped me in my journey is building connections. Please don't just remain at your university. I always challenge friends. Don't be a university lecturer, so your work is just to mark. After marking, you give students grades, then you wait for next semester. That's not the best way. Go out for conferences, connect with people, and when you go for conferences, please don't just present your paper and stay out. Talk to people. There are social times in conferences. Introduce yourself to senior scholars. Show interest in their research. Talk about your research in the conferences. And don't just talk. Invite. Finally make an invitation and ask someone, I wish we could do a collaborative study. That's how I've won many friends internationally, who then we now team up together to apply for some of the grants with. So be someone who is outgoing like that, and you'll be able to do well. Then search for grants. Don't wait for grants to search for you, because many times people wait for grants to come. So you get an email, oh, there is this grant. But one of the things I do, like myself, when every morning when I wake up, when I don't have an existing grant, I always go to Google and ask Google, are there any existing grants? And it has really, really helped, because sometimes even the ones that have not come to the public, you'll see even some organizations saying upcoming grants. So I wait for those dates. I go there, I read about them, and I put in my application. And quite a number of them have been able to succeed. Another skill that I really want you to develop is to embrace failure. That's why I started by disclosing that in my grant application journey, I have failed to 60%. So you can see I've succeeded to 40%. Those of you who are coming from education, that's a D. So and the D is actually giving me grants. So don't wait to to be an A student, start making mistakes. Give yourself permission to make mistakes in the application process. When one is rejected, I really like the story of Ivy because she has shown you can fail and reapply and go and become stubborn until they hear you. And that's what I can encourage the early career scholars to do. Once you have done all this, I would say just start. Please do not wait to be perfect. There are people who have gotten opportunities for writing grants. They write and they feel it's not good, so I will not submit. I believe in submitting a bad proposal than not submitting one, because when I submit a bad one, they'll tell me no. And still, if I did not submit, the answer is no. So I would rather then try to have a no that has something that is attached to it. So once you put up a proposal, please submit even if it has mistakes. And that's why the funders have reviewers. Reviewers will review and also give you comments to make improvements. As I head towards the end, now I'm not giving you permission to do a haphazard proposal because I said it should be bad. Let your bad proposal be good. Make that bad proposal to be good. And so how do I make it good? Make sure you, for every grant, you do a background check. Go to the funding organization and try to know what is their philosophy. What do they want? What are their research interests? Now, make sure you meet their interests. As you meet your interest, as you meet the interest of the society. I think if you put these three things together, it's very easy to convince the reviewers. Please check eligibility and deadlines and writing formats. Some even have a template of how to do a proposal. So you don't want to mix up things. Understand each funder, they are never the same. And I think at that point, I would just say it is possible. One of the things as I finish, just going to the first slide, I think I didn't highlight this. I was the winner of ISSBD Developing Country Fellowship of 2016-2018. It was a fellowship that mentored me for 2 years. And I think what I have in research today and the ground that I have in grant writing, I can accredit it to ISSBD. I received the best mentorship, interacted with senior scholars, and right now I can say I've reached where I am because I got the mentorship in ISSBD. So all career scholars who are here, early career scholars, please make use of opportunities of ISSBD, go for regional workshops, meet senior scholars, and you'll become the star of your time. Thank you so much. Back to you, the programmer.
Thank you very much, Stephen. So thank you for the important and very practical pearls that you've given us, and that link all the applications to funders and grants. I think they were very much motivating, and thank you also for sharing your failures. I admit I failed myself several times, but I'm always in the hope to achieve some small or grand results some days. So really, thank you very much, Stephen. Great presentation and great hints, really. So our next guest today will be Pamela Vadende. She's also an ISSBD member, and also she's part of some committees as well in the ISSBD. She's a developmental psychologist at Kenya's Kisii University School of Education and Human Resource Development. Her interest is how children acquire behavior and how it develops over the lifespan. A current research focus is creating child-friendly preschool environments and experiences in rural areas of Africa. Actually, when she gave me her bio, I said, you have to shorten it very much. But like in the whole bio, she really put a strong accent to the environmental issues all of the time. A Global Challenge Research Fund grant will help her to complete one of the projects in the rural Kenya and Zambia areas. Pamela also is a coordinator of the ISSBD and Jacobs Foundation African Professional Development Fellowship. that brings together 10 fellows from 6 different African countries for professional development and networking opportunities. And she's also starting a Templeton World Charity Foundation, founded peace building project in the Lokochojo, I think that I said it correctly, among adolescents involved in livestock wrestling. So thank you very much, Pamela. Now, Pamela probably has some problems with the connections and sharing her slides with us. So Pamela, if you're in trouble, I would like to ask Patrick to share eventually my screen so I can display your slides. Tell me.
Yeah, please.
We do that?
Share. Yeah.
Okay.
So meanwhile, as the slides are coming up, I want to thank you so much for having me. It's really an honor to be here talking to people. I'll especially talk about, veer a little bit and talk about the advice, the experiences I've collected from writing grant proposals, and the experiences I've collected from others, from other people. And I'm going to talk basically following my initial successful grant proposal. So it was a very small one. It was only 20,000 USD. I was given by Global Ties of New York, Global Ties for Children from New York University. And I was really proud of it. That 20,000 USD, I stretched it to have a project in Kenya and in Zambia. And that's something that I'm really proud of. So my talk today will just follow that grant from the beginning to the end. So let's start. So as the others have said, I've had, I think Stephen has been very, very successful. Mine, I think, has been 80% rejections and just 20% success. So the few projects that I'm really flaunting around have come out of a real huge mass of failures. So there's a lot. If I could paste my office wall with the rejection letters that I have, I think there wouldn't be space on the wall to post any more letters. So I would advise upcoming scholars who are interested in writing grant proposals and successful ones for that first and foremost, identify a problem or question. And this is how you go about it. For example, you'd ask, what preoccupies you? What research will you be doing and why? So for for the grant that I'm talking about, Global Ties for Children, I was really preoccupied by the fact that children have a hard time transitioning from home to school because the school was quite unfriendly, being a very new environment for the children. It wasn't only the experience from what I observed, it was also coming out of literature. We had this huge East African survey on what children are learning and are they really learning what we think they're learning. That was the title of the survey. And it really gave some depressing statistics about child wastage in school. Children take so much time getting used to the new environment, and then, sometimes it even affects them to the various grades of school as they proceed forward, and some of them even drop out of school altogether, and that. So that really drove me. And then I talked to people. I talked to a professor who was also interested in child transitioning from home to school. And he really encouraged me to pursue that. And he told me, of course, you won't be able to do research on this until you get grants, and I started looking out. So please, let's move on to the next slide. So the next thing I would do, move on to the next slide. Yes. So the next thing I would do is that I would identify a call by asking myself, who funds such project? Who is interested? Now, this is so important because if you send your proposal to a funder who is not interested in your focus, then it's a waste of your time, a waste of your energy, a waste of everything. So really look and see who really is interested. And for my case, I was really lucky soon after I'd started thinking and putting my thoughts together, even before even writing out a proposal, just putting my thoughts together. Global Ties for New York, they send out the call. So I went ahead and made the application. I didn't get it that year. I didn't get it. It was declined because I had not looked at the details well. My budget was off by, I think, 1,000 USD. And my focus wasn't so well crafted, so it was rejected. But I didn't give up. The next year when they made the call, I looked at it more carefully. I was much more careful with the budget that I wrote. It wasn't off even by a shilling. Actually, I was under the budget by, I think, $200 or $100. And then my focus, I really sharpened it to be on point. And in the second round, I got it. So the thing is you persist. Failure is part of the journey. And every other successful researcher that I've talked with, whether they are professors, they are emeritus, they always give me that advice. You have got to persist. The third slide. Identify a team. This is so important. When I was applying for this project, I had already identified a colleague from Zambia who we met at, ironically, not ironically, but fortunately in an ISSBD regional workshop in Kenya. And as he was making his presentation, I realized that our focus was the same. He was also interested in transitioning, how children transition from home to school. And we got talking, and we stopped talking there and kept quiet and said, okay, we'll write this when we'll continue this conversation when we can be able to, when we are able to have money to, do the research. So identify her team. And when you identify these people, be sure this is somebody you can work with. One thing about it is that look at the focus. Are they interested in what you're interested in? 1. 2, who are they? Remember, if you're a PI, if you wrote a grant successful and became a PI, the funder knows you. And there is something you told the funder that you're going to deliver, and the funder expects that from you. So if you came up with a team members who maybe for some reason are not so supportive, unfortunately, you have to pick up the slack. You have to do the work they were supposed to do. So be very, very careful about who you bring into your team. What strengths do they bring? Are you able to work with them in the period of the grant? So that is also very important. So what are they contributing? So the next slide is write. Now, writing, I cannot overemphasize enough that you really need to take your time. For example, the Jacobs representative has just said the call is coming out. And if you're interested, I expect you to be watching out for the call and starting immediately it's out. It cannot be a last minute thing. Last minute things never work because maybe there is a signature you need from your university. And by the time you're ready to submit, you realize you need the signature and it is a weekend, there is no one in the office, then all your effort is wasted. Be very careful about that. I was lucky when I got my Global Ties Equal grant because I worked on the draft I had worked on the previous year when it was rejected. So for me, I was really lucky. But if you're starting this now, just make sure you're on toes and you give yourself time and space to write, peaceful space, and then collaborate. The pieces that your colleagues, the team that you've identified are bringing in, make sure there is somebody seated ready to put them together in a coherent piece that you can present. Okay, next slide. Submit in time and it should be complete. Once you hit the submit button, you cannot go in and start correcting or adding things or removing things. Look at me, my first grant, the one that I missed. I hit the submit button with the budget over. I'd overshot the budget. It cost me. I'd not focused well. It cost me. So make sure you submit 1 on time. 2, it has to be complete. On time means maybe a day or 2 before. That is my motto. Normally a day or 2 before the deadline. On the day of the deadline, anything can happen. Anything. There could be a blackout, your laptop is dead, there could be an internet issue, there could be anything. So just be safe. You know, you've spent so much time on this, you really want to submit, just submit it a few days before, or even, you know, many, many hours before. Okay, next slide. Next slide is review. You are successful, right? Most funders will ask you to revise your proposal according to comments of reviewers. Now, some of these comments, you could have maybe 3 reviewers, all of them giving comments. Some of them are even contradictory. Some of them, you know, like we do in our universities, you have 5 supervisors. One of them is giving a comment that contradicts another one. But it's important. Remember, they're going to sign off on this proposal and they're going to say, yes, give them funding. Remember, you are maybe on stage 3, and that's the last stage before funding. So respond to all the comments, even the ones that you are not going to incorporate in your proposal, and explain why you're not going to incorporate them. And I think if you do a good explanation, everyone will understand and support you. So at this stage, the excitement is bubbling inside your chest. The excitement always bubbles inside my chest when this is when I'm at this stage, and I'm biting my fingers and I'm praying and I'm doing all those things that we do to wish ourselves luck. But I'm also watching the reviewers' comments. Just to veer off from my, I'm finishing now, just to veer off a little bit from the grant, the Global Ties grant that I'm talking about, I've been following throughout. I'll go to the Templeton World Charity Fund grant. Them, I think they have, is it four stages? Stephen is one of the recipients, 4 stages. And by the last stage, you are, when you're notified that you're in the last stage, and you can follow online and see which stage you are, and you're praying, biting your fingers. And when they send you the reviewers' comments, you really want to make a good job, so that nothing jinxes your chances at the last moment. Because just as the Jacobs funder is, Templeton is very supportive. I haven't even started my project, but the courses, the kind of support I've received, the kind of courses I've been invited to take and things like that are so many. But anyway, my last statement is that this is really doable. Just concentrate. Do not get dampened. Don't let your spirit be dampened by rejection. That's part of the journey. Just grow a thick skin and go on. And I wish you the best. Always, if you need support, identify some senior scholars who can read your proposal for you, and especially somebody who is not in your discipline. You know, get somebody from geography to read your education proposal. Then they'll tell you whether it's making sense or not. Because some of the reviewers won't even be from your discipline. And yet the proposal is supposed to make sense to them also. So I'll just stop there, and thank you so much again for having me. This was really kind of you.
Thank you. So I can stop sharing if I know how to do it. Where is it? No. Can somebody help? Here he is. Okay, got it. Okay, I can manage these little things as well. So Pamela, thank you very much for your precious contribution to this webinar. So I was thinking, so these 3 presentations have been so different, but are complementary in terms of the information that they've provided. Not even if we had planned it in advance. So you guys have been great. Thank you very much for sharing this with us. So we don't have much time, but I would like to go through the chat very quickly, and perhaps maybe Tina or you guys also, if you can go and scroll down the chat, see whether there are some yes, Elizabeth, educative and encouraging, yes, inspiring. Everybody's thanking. So yes, one of the question is if you guys can share somehow your contributions so that maybe we can post it somehow in the ISSBD website, and we can speak about this with Patrick. But do you guys will be willing to share this with us? Yes, yes, great.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Yes, so yes, also Gelja, thanks a lot because she's learned a lot today, she says. She's goodbying everyone because she's left. Yes, so there are no many questions specifically to you guys. You've been very insightful, and you've given a very broad range of information tackling the situation or the issue from different perspectives. So that was really, really helpful and truly motivating. So I don't know, Tina, do you want to say something before leaving?
Yeah, no, big thanks to Ivy7 and Pam. I also think it was very complimentary and very helpful. I also appreciated your openness and your encouragement of the early career. I can imagine, and I've read through the chat that people really feel they learned a lot by your presentations and by learn about your personal journeys in science and research. Thank you so very much, and also thank you all for commitment to the ISSBD. And I think this is just another, kind of, day to day where we can see how we learn together. And I think that is very enjoyable and powerful, right? That we have this international network to exchange, ideas, but also support each other. So I'm very grateful to all of you for your support and and I mean, just to second Cynthia, I hope to see many of you again at our biennial in Lisbon next summer. Thank you very much, everyone.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Tina, for the time you devoted to us. Thank you. And also, Given Apunda, he's thanking for the presenters for supporting the early career scholars. That was much appreciated. And also, he learned a lot, like all of us. So I think that's going to be it. So if you guys can share your presentations, that we can post them somewhere, then we'll see where's the best place where to put them. Remember the biennial, remember to book your rooms, remember to vote, and remember to renew your membership. That's important. Okay, so guys, thank you very much. I don't know if Patrick is leaving us with something soft or is not, but thank you, Patrick, for all the support. You've been of great help to me for sure, and to us all. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank you as
guys.
well.
Bye.
And bye-bye, everyone. It's been great learning also in this platform, and we'll leave you with some music. For those of us who will be left behind, some music will still be playing in the background. And and just like Cynthia said about next year's biennial, you can keep on looking out for information on the website. We shall keep on sharing an email or through the website, as well as anything related to membership. You can always reach out to us with issues related to membership, just in case you have issues. And thank you very much for organizing this webinar. It's been a great learning experience for me as well.
Bye, everyone.
See you, everyone.